All right, everybody, and here we are, another live stream ahead of us. So thank you very much for all of you who are dialing in. I know it's Friday afternoon, probably not the best time. I should have timed it differently. I was actually planning to do it on Saturday because last time I asked you guys in the poll what you prefer. Majority of you actually said for Saturday, which I was a little bit surprised because I thought this weekend, the last thing you want to watch is me on YouTube, but seemed to be the most popular vote actually. Friday the second most popular, which was also interesting. I thought it would be Monday or Wednesday, but yeah, here we are because this Saturday we have the long Easter weekend. So I figured most of this time probably people will be with their families out and about. So that's why I figured let's put it on Friday just to give you a quick update. And of course, as always, finish off with a bit of Q&A. So keep the questions coming in the comments down below. I'll run through some of the market news and updates first, and then we'll get to your questions. I hope I have a bit of dialogue, looking at around 1 hour or something. Let's see how it develops. Good. Yeah, I mean, in terms of markets, this Friday, obviously they are closed because in the US, they're already in the Easter weekend. It's a long weekend over there, so not much happening. But still, we had a few things obviously happening the last week. So let's go through a couple of those stories, and then we'll take it from there. Also, let me know, guys, where you're dialing in. Happy to hear from you, to see which part of the world you're watching this YouTube stream from. Always exciting to hear. Right, guys, so first story, let me jump over here. Just came in, actually. So while the market's closed, some of the institutions are still working. And we heard the PCE inflation data, as per Jerome Powell from the Fed, coming in saying it is in line. Now, again, you may wonder, how does it affect you? And, I couldn't care less. And, I'm also, between Europe and Middle East, how do I care about the PCE data, the price consumer sort of index, basically the inflation for price consumer goods? How does it impact me? But if it stays stable, that's a good sign, because that means that long term, obviously, hopefully this year still, they might start lowering the interest rate, because obviously the whole point of why they hiked up the interest rate so much is to bring inflation under control. I mean, inflation was absolutely skyrocketing. So now the fact that it is in line with what they had in mind is already a good sign. Eventually, if it further cools off, I think we'll really start, and he already alluded to that, Jerome Powell, that they will start bringing the rates down. And that has so many more ripple effects. Obviously, US rates impact global rates, so that's why we as Europeans and other parts of the world, we should look at that, because what the US usually is doing will impact other markets, and they will follow accordingly. So once they start dropping those, I think other markets will follow, and that will bring more liquidity into the market. Because, ask yourself, right? I'm doing it myself. A lot of my cash is now sitting in saving accounts because I can get up to 5% interest by just having my money there. So if let's say, imagine I get 0%, well, what do I do with the money? I will invest it into the markets. I will take a mortgage to buy an apartment, right? People circulate their money and invest more. So, I think it will be good for the markets if the rates will drop, the interest rate, but it remains to be seen. But overall, that's some good news coming out of there. Nevertheless, having said it, actually, the Wall Street Journal just came out with the fact that the S&P 500 had the best start to the year. I mean, obviously, the first 3 months of the year since 2019. So really nice to see. Overall, very, very strong performance. Obviously, led a lot by the AI and tech stocks that we've seen as part of the S&P 500 and other indexes. But once we look at the numbers over here, you can really see, I mean, S&P 500 so far is up year to date by 10%. That's really not too shabby, to be honest, for the first 3 months. So really nice performance for the whole year, 32%. So very nice recovery from previous lows. So yeah, that's nice. Of course, the NASDAQ 100. So these are the 100 top stocks in the NASDAQ. In fact, I actually just made a video about this today, which I'll post on Sunday, because that's a stock or ETF index that I haven't really paid too much attention to in the past. I always focused on the S&P 500, but I must say, having done a bit of more homework, and I'll speak more about this in my video, I really like it. To be honest, I really like it. You can see, obviously, over the last 3 years, it did outperform the S&P 500. So yeah, I'll speak more about this in my video, but yeah, I'm really starting to pay more attention to the NASDAQ 100, of course, as well. And you can see all the other equities, most of them are up. So overall, for the year to date, there isn't really anything majorly down here. So it's looking fairly strong. Only Brazil seems to be struggling a little bit, minus 7%, but the rest of the world is up, even Germany. So that's that's interesting. But again, obviously they take different measures, what they include in those buckets over here. And yeah, so with this, let's look at the overall assets, the global assets by market cap. And here we see, of course, gold still being the biggest. That's all gold in circulation basically. Price of gold times supply of gold brings it to that. And then we have all the various other companies. The most valuable company in the world still remains to be Microsoft, and actually the gap is widening. It used to be neck and neck with Apple, but since Apple's kept on dropping for quite a while now due to various things, now they're really far in the lead, being the most valuable company in the world, not just the US, but in the world actually. And let's see how Apple will, if they will manage to catch up or not, remains to be seen. I hope once they, usually in summer, they have in July or June, July, they have their global release of all new products and so on. So hopefully they will make a big announcement towards AI, because I think so far they've been really missing the AI train, and hopefully that will help to boost the stock price over there. Then of course Nvidia has seen a major inflow and price increase over recent times. And then we move towards the lower part with silver still ahead of Bitcoin. Bitcoin for a while was actually surpassing silver, but now that the price of Bitcoin cooled down a little bit, once again they're neck to neck over here a little bit. But yeah, definitely the 9th most valuable asset in the world. Not too shabby, and if people say that's just the beginning, now we're at 69,000. If it hits 500,000, I think the number is it has to hit 450,000 around. If it hits 450,000 times the supply, because the supply can never be more than 21 million, obviously, we know that, it will be more valuable than gold. And I think even somewhere in between, at some stage, people will invest less into gold, but then put their money into Bitcoin. That's just my humble opinion, not investment advice, but yeah, it remains to be seen what will be the outcome of this. Looking more specifically at the crypto markets, obviously, as I said, a bit of a roller coaster last few days with Bitcoin up and down, but overall still, you see here the last 7 days, it bounced back again. So if somebody really trades, I think you can make good money in volatile times when the markets go up and down. You can make good money, right? If you would have sold a week before, or you would have bought, and then now you made 10%, you sold. But again, for me, it looks nice in hindsight, but you never know, right? It could have gone up all the way, it could have gone down all the way. So I'm a long-term investor, and I buy and hold for time being, and I'm happy with that. My last remaining crypto other than Bitcoin is Ethereum. It's so funny, in recent time it's been really lagging Bitcoin by quite a bit. You can see, Bitcoin went up in a week by 9%, Ethereum only by 5%. So I'm trying to wait my time until Ethereum has a little bit of a bump up. And then I will sell it and switch into Bitcoin to be 100% Bitcoin, because as I said, I'm long term. All these other meme coins, maybe I'm missing out on money and crazy gains, but in that way, if you can call a crypto investor a conservative investor, I would call myself a conservative crypto investor in that way. And let's not forget, guys, 7 days, up and down, a few days for the month, we're still up 10%. And then for 1 year, we are up by 144%. So, sometimes people, they make drama when it drops by, a couple of thousands, the price of it. But still, when you look at the big picture, we still have massive gains. So I think that's something always to keep in mind. So that's why, I'm not really joining these up and down trending parties, because I don't know, and I don't think anyone knows. So that's why I'm buying, holding, and see where the journey takes us. Right, what else do we have? A couple of news that I found interesting. Universal Music, obviously, there was a bit of drama where they couldn't agree somehow with TikTok on their price compensation for the royalty fees, right? If you make a TikTok, you record a TikTok and use some of those popular songs, basically there's a music label behind, in this case let's say Universal Music, and then for every time that video is shown to somebody, there's a royalty payment, right? Because the artist has to be redeemed for that. So it's a tiny fraction of a cent, whatever, but it does add up over time. And it seems they couldn't come to agreement with TikTok, and eventually they pulled all the songs. So a lot of the popular songs that you could previously use, you can no longer use on TikTok, and there was a whole big backlash from TikTok creators. Obviously, they were very upset, and what have you. But now, obviously, they need to find new revenue streams, Universal. So it seems they're linking up with Spotify on a strategic relationship, and they want to bring more and more videos, basically music videos, directly to Spotify. Already Spotify started it a while ago that they show you videos, but I think it looks like they want to be more and more a video platform as well. And you see that over here as well. Recently, they started experimenting with learning courses that you can take, online courses basically on Spotify. Again, going that video route. So in that way, they're almost starting to compete with YouTube, So, again, I'm not investing directly into Spotify, so I'm really not too bothered about it. But I find it interesting. Obviously, if it does work out, it could be a huge, massive inflow of additional revenue, of course. On the other hand, though, I mean, competing with YouTube, that's going to be a tough one. And at some stage, you run the risk of diluting your initial core business model, right? If you do a bit of everything, you may not do anything particularly good. So, interesting one. Of course, they can't only do music forever, right? Eventually, they have their market saturated. But yeah, I was quite surprised when I read about learning online courses. So it's not just about how to become a better musician, but literally anything. As you can see over here, learning how to design things and potentially how to invest. Right? I could have my investment course on Spotify, which would be rather odd, at least for time being. I could not imagine that, but interesting idea, and obviously nice to see that the company keeps on evolving and trying new things. Right, and you probably would have seen that this week we had the former founder and CEO of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, sentenced to 25 years in jail. And on top, he has to pay 11 billion as well, which probably, if he still has some of his crypto holdings, he can easily pay, I'm sure. But 25 years, yeah, I mean, interesting, obviously, he screwed a lot of people over, and I'm really happy to see that now actually there's a way for a lot of those investors who invested through his platform into FTX, into the various crypto holdings. It looks like a lot of those can be recovered, which for me is quite interesting. I'm not sure how that's done, from where the money comes from, but somehow it seems a lot of investors are being compensated. But I think it's good that they set a real clear sign here. Again, I'm not talking about the guy himself. Obviously, he was a con artist. He plays the innocent card. But yeah, I mean, at the time, everybody celebrated him. You see all the celebrities. Everybody was endorsing FTX. And then, interestingly enough, a lot of people hated on the people promoting it, which, I get in a way. On the other hand, of course, even big financial institutions were working with FTX, investing money there. There was big sports arena that were called FTX arenas, right? They were sponsoring Formula One. So, people don't do due diligence, right? I mean, if they would have offered me to sponsor on the video and we would have found a good deal, and I would have used the platform myself, I would have talked about them, right? So I'm not sure if we can really bash those creators, because at the time you couldn't have known. Now in hindsight, of course, it's easy to finger point, why did you work with him? But the same could be true, I don't know, maybe 10 years from now, Coca-Cola is proven to be very bad for your health and causes certain bad reactions in your body. And then people will say, well, why did you talk and why did you buy Coca-Cola stock? Well, because I didn't know at the time, right? So yeah, I think now that they send a clear signal, 25 years in jail, hopefully, they stick with it, because sometimes, the legal system in the US is quite interesting. In the end, it waters down to a couple of years only. But I think it's a good sign that people really don't mess around with people's money, because otherwise, we're going to have more and more scams. And we see that already now with crypto price going up, all these crazy meme coins. And I myself, as a tiny creator, I'm being approached, I don't know how many times a day, by different crypto exchanges and wild projects, copy trading and what have you, promising crazy returns. So I think it's good to really send a strong signal. Don't mess with people's money, and really, you got to do things properly. So I think that's a good thing. Talking about doing things properly, interesting with Donald Trump. Obviously, again, not talking about politics, and my channel is not about politics, but obviously he's trying to run for another term in office, and now he needs money for it, because he's been faced with some huge fine, also some 450 million he has to pay for something. So now, himself, or obviously smart people around him, they went public with his Truth social media company. I never used that, never will. But basically, it was worth at some stage 9 billion, which is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, 9 billion, just to put things into perspective, if we go down here, well, okay, here we have some big companies, but 9 billion, if we go down the rabbit hole, I mean, I can, for example, take German companies, just to give you an idea what is 9 billion worth. So 9 billion worth, you would be in Germany, well, literally the same market value as Lufthansa, which, is not a great company. I mean, I've flown Lufthansa, they used to be way better, but still, it's a global company, right? I mean, 9 billion, and they just literally launched, and it's worth 9 billion. And it's just absolutely wild. And even worse, actually. Where is it? I was just looking for that. One second, we see here, in fact, last year, they only made 3.3 million from advertising, because usually that's the biggest source of revenue for those platforms. And yet they still had a loss of 49 million. So they majorly loss-making company. valued at such a valuation, which is absolutely crazy. And once again, brings back that meme stock phenomenon, which we've seen, you know, with GameStop before and some other crazy stocks. So for me, honestly, there's no real difference to investing into something like that or investing into, let me go back over here, some crazy coins we laugh about. By the way, look at this. I was showing you before. One second, go back. Bitcoin up 9% in 1 week. Well, look at this little dodgy coin over here, up 40%. You know, absolutely wild. And then we have here some other what is this? Some other coins, whatever, Pepe, some crazy meme coins people come up. So for me, honestly, not real any difference between investing into that or that. Probably I would rather invest into meme coin because potentially my upside might be even higher. I go in and out at this company. Yeah, I mean, you know, if you want to invest in it because you want to support them politically, you know, that might be your call. But as a financial decision, I don't think it's something at least I will ever get into. What else we have? Very important, guys. In case you're not signed up yet, please feel free to sign up to my new Smart Money Moves newsletter. I migrated to a new email provider. So I'm really trying to take this serious, send it out weekly, once a week, every Wednesday. Really spend quite a bit of time on that. Share with you also my stock buys over there because I used to share it publicly. But then, you know, A, I don't want to have public backlash because in the end it's my decision, right? I don't have to justify my stock buys. And B, there should also be certain benefit for people, you know, who go deeper and subscribe to the newsletter. So if you're not yet, then please feel free. I'm definitely not here to spam you. I really try to give you and deliver value. So yeah, if you haven't yet, happy to have you join the community over there. Then we have also some updates on AI. As you know, I'm a big AI lover. After all, 2/3 of my name are AI. And yeah, so basically, you know, ChatGPT 4 was obviously the undoubted king of AI for quite a while. I'm using it myself mostly. That's my main AI tool of choice. But it seems Claude, another AI competitor out of the many that came out in recent time, actually took over in terms of certain rankings. We'll see over here that's based on, you know, certain things. But in some scores of tests, they actually apparently won it in the ELO score. Again, I'm not an expert in how that's calculated and so on, but it seems they definitely started to compete with ChatGPT. Now, having said that, obviously, ChatGPT themselves, or OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, said, you know, ChatGPT 5 is coming out very soon, hopefully this year, and it's going to be a way higher step up. So I think we're going to see crazy progress. Also, when we look at all the other things they're doing, they're working on robots. They are also starting apparently develop their own chips, which is going to be quite a big competition to NVIDIA when you think about it. Of course, we've seen their video creation software, which is absolutely mind-boggling. We knew we can create pictures through them with DALL-E, so that's a good competition to Midjourney. But now with their video creation, it's just unreal, like scary real. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe one day I can outsource my videos to AI, and then instead of me sitting here, will be AI. But actually, I don't think so. To be honest, I think we will, you know, with all that AI developing happening, I think we'll go back to more raw, authentic content. That's why I also don't want to have a huge team anytime soon where I have all this polished content, because I think sometimes you lose people because if it's too amazing, it looks like a TV show, right? So why would I then watch someone on YouTube? I can just turn on the TV and, you know, get brainwashed by that. And I think there's a kind of a pushback to more low-key, easy, digestible, raw, authentic content. So anyways, that's at least what I'm trying to make with this channel. And lastly, I mean, again, talking about AI, actually one platform that I have started using a bit more is Perplexity. I don't know if you ever tried it. It's free for the most part. Of course, they have also a pay plan. It's quite good. I like that they give you the way they present information is a bit more contemporary, I would say. It really takes the latest on events from the internet. It sources the information where it's come from, so you can quickly identify sources, because sometimes, you know, the AI tells you something and you don't know, you just blindly trust it. So here they usually always reference, you know, trusted websites and other sources. So quite a nice one. I don't know if you ever used it, but yeah, definitely something I could recommend and to check it out. But my main AI of choice remains, for time being at least, ChatGPT. I'm on the Pro plan, and yeah, I've been really loving it. By the way, guys, how you like my new setup? I've changed a little bit the screen here and the picture, so it's a little bit smaller, but I think it looks a bit cleaner and more modern. Previously, if I go into that, it looked like that. So let me know in the comments which one you prefer, the full screen, what I had always, or the more modern look with this little floating thing around here. It took me a while to play around with this, but I'm quite happy. So yeah, I might use that for future videos. So let me know what you think about it. Right, guys, so let's go. I see a bit of comments over here. Thanks for still bearing with me. Quantum Lens, hi, thanks for dialing in on a Friday. Really appreciate that. Do you have any connections to Switzerland? If so, are there any investment recommendations when it comes to ETFs? Well, I mean, I used to live in Switzerland. Let me go full screen here so you guys can and pull up the comment. I used to live in Switzerland actually for quite a while. In total, I think over 2.5 years or something. When it comes to investment, not too much, to be honest. I haven't really invested there. I'm not planning to, because for Europeans to invest into Swiss stocks, especially when you invest in dividend stocks, withdrawal, the withholding fee is quite high, I believe up to 30%. So it's not quite attractive for non-Swiss to invest into Swiss markets. If you are based there, it can be really attractive, especially if you don't invest or look to invest into dividend stocks. I think it makes sense, but yeah, other than that, I wouldn't be the best person, but for sure you can use brokers like Interactive Brokers and other big ones out there. Andre, thanks for dialing in. Nice to see you on the Friday afternoon here. Ilya from, I hope I pronounced it correctly, Ilya from Ireland. That's awesome. Thanks for dialing in. Appreciate it. Andre, BTC, go, go, go. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, but I'm really patient. Like as I said last time, you know, the first time I really got into Bitcoin, I bought it because it was the hype. You know, everybody said buy Bitcoin, and I was like kind of FOMOing my way into it, which was quite not the smartest move in hindsight. At the same time though, actually the returns I made from it was pretty sizable. I mean, after my real estate, it's actually my second best investment so far. But now, after reading a lot of books on the topic, watching endless you know, YouTube related videos about this, listening to podcasts and smart people in the industry, you know, with the big players and asset managers like BlackRock coming into the space, I'm really feeling much more comfortable with it, and now kind of really dollar cost average my way in. I pretty much, probably too much on the way, when I go to the gym or something, I might buy Bitcoin worth for 50 euros, you know, while I'm going, and then do that every day. So I really want to build up a bigger position. You know, some people say, well, 70,000 is already way too expensive. Yes, it is, if it would go down to 30,000, which it might. But if it will go to 500,000 in a few years, it is very cheap, right? So again, I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm convinced myself. That's most important. You can't borrow conviction. You need to be convicted and convinced about the investment yourself. But I'm definitely in it for the long term. I will move from my ETH to Bitcoin as well. Yep, same here. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. Ideally, you know, a certain period when ETH gets some kind of pump. I think it would be a good opportunity if that Ethereum ETF would be approved, because that would help to give a bit of boost and more visibility to Ethereum, because in recent times I feel all the attention was on Bitcoin or on some meme coins. Ethereum was a little bit left behind even after the recent upgrade. A lot of people said don't sell now because it's going to pump after the upgrade. The upgrade came and well, the price hasn't really done much, right? So yeah, I'm waiting for a bit of a bump there, and then definitely get out of ETH as well. Where do you think you should invest if there's only 100 euro left to invest? If you have only 100 euros left to invest, well, honestly, invest it into something that educates you and grows your mindset on how to make more money. Because 100 euros, you know, unless you make a 1 in a million pick on the right meme coin, and but even if 100 euros, you know, 100 x's, what is that? 10x will be 1,000, so that would be 10,000 euros. That's nice, but again, 10,000 euros, you know, you can maybe live comfortable for a couple of months, but it's not gonna change your world and your life fundamentally. So, but 100 euros invest into yourself, finding either your passion, something you're good at, a job that you can, you know, do well, climb up and make more money while building up your side hustle. That is so much more worth than some lucky investment. So yeah, honestly, that's why I'm always say, first of all, you need to grow your income potential, and then you can invest. You know, if you want to invest with little money, it's a good, you know, good thinking to have. I say never stop investing. You should always start as early as possible, but don't get over obsessed with it. You know, if somebody earns 1,000 euros and does everything, you know, to save themselves and not enjoy life just to invest instead of 100 euros, 150 euros, I'm not sure that's really the whole point of investing in the first place, right? You want to preserve your wealth and build your wealth, But first of all, you need something to come into your bank account to then invest and funnel into other things. So yeah, invest into yourself. I don't know, it depends on how you learn, right? Some people like to go to a conference and get inspired and afterwards take action. I took my most expensive course I bought was for €1,000 at the time. I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? But actually it was really, really helpful, not with regards to investing, but I got quite a bit of value out of it. Other people like to buy books. So whatever works for you, use that, buy it, and make the most out of it. Miguel, thanks for dialing in. Always nice to see you. I believe you're also from Portugal, which is so interesting that I have so many people from Portugal watching and following the channel. Even when I spoke to one of my partners from one of the brokerages I work with, they said, most of your signups come from Portugal. And for me, it's so surprising because I have nothing really to do with Portugal, but it seems to really resonate with you guys. So maybe, I don't know, I was thinking the first mastermind to do in Dubai, but maybe the second one should be somewhere in Portugal because we have a lot of people from there. So really appreciate you guys being around. What else? €100 a month investment in the ETF, S&P 500, good option for long term. Yeah, I mean, look, what I'm trying to say is if you can only invest €100, absolutely go for it, right? Because it also builds a muscle, the habit. That's already very, very good. So some people wait too long until they really make money, but then they're 40 years old and then they don't have the time to compound anymore. So if you can start early with little money, that's perfectly fine because you start building a good habit, right? Like going to the gym. I mean, I'd rather have you go every single day for 20 minutes to the gym than, I don't know, twice a month for 3 hours. Actually, it's much better to go every day. And the same with investing. If you do it regularly, weekly, or ideally, even monthly is fine. I like weekly, but whatever your time interval works for you, €100 is fine. And if you don't want to do much, stock research yourself and fiddle around with it, I really always say invest into the S&P 500. Put a recurring buying theme, recurring buying order, and most of the times it's free of charge, so you don't pay any commission. So every first day of the month or every Wednesday of the week, you set up your own schedule, you set up your amount, and it will just religiously buy that particular ETF. And as I said, S&P 500, you can't really go wrong with it. Not too many stocks or even successful investors outperform the S&P 500 in the long term. They can outperform it for 1 year, maybe for 2 years, maybe for 3 years. But if you look at the long-term track record for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, honestly, there aren't too many people. So that's why I'm a big fan of investing into this. As I said, I do start liking some other ETFs as well. I just filmed today a video comparing the S&P 500 to the NASDAQ 100, which is another very popular index that people track. And so I might see myself investing into that, but I'll leave that for the video, which I share on Sunday. But yeah, definitely S&P 500. I don't give buying recommendations, but here, that's the only one I would always give. You can't really go wrong with that. What are your thoughts on TXRH and DKS? Honestly, to be honest, maybe you can explain what it is. I haven't heard about these ticker symbols, so I can't really comment at this stage. What's the best place to hold foreign currency? Where do you hold your Swiss francs, USD? Personally, I'm afraid the EU or Euro cash. So will all my holdings be in Europe? Well, good point. I mean, I don't think Euro is going to disappear. I think with the US dollars, you're probably going to have the strongest fiat currency. Let's be honest. We used to have currency backed by gold back in the days. But then, companies stopped doing it. They debased their currency from gold. Now, I read a nice line which says that the US dollar is backed by military. And that's actually true, right? You don't want to mess with the dollar because eventually you're going to be dealing with the US military, for better or for worse, but that's the reality. So I think, they are not going to disappear. They might eventually go into digital dollar. I think that will happen. But still, the US dollar, as we know it, is always going to be here. The euro is, I think right now, the second strongest currency in circulation, if I'm not mistaken, is the dollar, and then followed by the euro. So I also don't believe that the euro is going down, even though I think versus the dollar, it is continuing to dilute and lose in value, definitely. The purchasing power of euro versus dollar is for sure in favor of the dollar. So then the Swiss francs would definitely be a better option. Just in my case, it doesn't make sense because I don't really live in Switzerland. I don't invest in Switzerland. So just holding it for the sake of holding, then I better invest into Bitcoin because for me, that's my store of value, which potentially can go up. But I wouldn't just have my store of value in a currency in a country that I don't really, frequent much. So in that way. Right now, obviously, since I'm moving to Dubai, I will have my US dollars, which is pretty much pegged to the dirham. They call it dirham, but in a way it's pretty much similar to the dollar, based over there. So I keep my dirhams and US dollars in my UAE bank account. I will still keep my Euro bank accounts, have a couple, of course, also with my brokers, such as Trading 212, Lightyear, where I get interest on that. It's still protected, so I always make sure I stay under that protection limit in case something happens. And in there, I can have some dollars, I can have some euros, and I make some money on it while I get the interest, right? So yeah, I'll try to diversify, but I wouldn't panic sell my euros away, because I don't think they disappear completely, but I do think they will devalue over time versus other currencies for sure. Do you think the Ethereum ETF may change the horizon to ETH? Well, potentially. I think some people say it might, some people say it may not. I don't know. I would hope that it does, as I still hold some Ethereum. There's the discussion whether Ethereum is a security or an asset. Some people say it's a security, some people say it's an asset. Again, I'm not a regulatory expert on that, but other people say BlackRock wants it to become an ETF, and as they say, if BlackRock wants something, it will get something. So I could see it happening. Again, I don't know if that will fundamentally change the perception of everyone investing into Ethereum, because still the fundamental thinking and thought process and vision behind it is very much different from Bitcoin, right? I think people slowly start to understand the deflationary effect that Bitcoin has, that you can't print more. On Ethereum, there's endless supply, right? So I think that's slowly starting to change the narrative around. So even if there was an ETF, there might be an initial spike, but long term, I think those who really understand and do their homework, they might gravitate towards Bitcoin if they want something more stable. Or then, if you want to really take risk, then go into some other smaller projects, because Ethereum, I don't think is gonna 50x from here, right? So yeah, I think it's a little bit the forgotten stepchild. I hope it will bump up a little bit so I can trade it to Bitcoin, but it remains to be seen. What else? Well, thanks very much, man. Appreciate it. I'm doing my best. Even though I will be then based in Dubai, I'll still focus on European content, because I am European. I still gonna have a lot of relations with that. So I'll try to have let's put it this way, a non-US based focus. I'm still having my biggest audience is actually from the US, which is really surprising. So it seems my German accent didn't put them too much off. But still, I try to have a global approach on things. That's why I like cryptocurrency, because here, most people can invest into that. It doesn't matter which country you're based in. With stocks, it's already a bit more difficult, right? For Europeans to buy US stocks, there's certain limitations what we can and cannot do, but I always make sure I'll have a focus on Europe for sure. Good. What else? Brazil, from Brazil, that's amazing. Really, really cool. Just as I showed you before, somehow Brazil dropped the last week, the stock market, so they're going through a little bit rough times, but that's always good opportunities, and I think Brazil will come back. They have a huge potential, amazing country, great people from there, so I see a bright future ahead. Well, once again, thank you very much, appreciate that. And what else? Great reply, 100 euros a month. We are on the same mindset. I want to build a habit and also experience the market before investing a big chunk. Absolutely, that's always such a good point, to just get a feel, right? Because I see this inertia. No action keeps people away from achieving great things. The same as I said, if you think working out is bad, you'll never do it and you'll never get to experience the benefits from it. The same with investing. So many people, especially since I started this channel, who joined me and said, oh my God, Kai, I was always terrified of investing because it sounded so complicated and overwhelming. And now I see it's actually not so difficult. And that's really what I'm trying to do, is to take the fear away from people. And the best of all, you do this by doing small amounts. You don't have to, you save 10,000 euros, you don't have to invest 8,000 of it and then see what happens, right? Because guess what? You invest 8,000 euros and the market drops, which happens, right? We've seen this before. S&P 500 can drop by 20-25% in a year. And then you say, oh my God, investing is terrible. I'm down, I don't know, 1,500 euros. I better sell and get out of it, and investing is not for me. And that's how you burn people, right? You don't want to do this. So better to get a hang of it, invest small amounts. Even, most brokers, you can invest from €1. So why don't you just buy a couple of stocks, 5 euros here, 5 euros there, and see how it goes. Buy one, sell one. The first time, whenever I sign up with a new broker, what I do first thing is I deposit a very small amount, let's say 10 euros. I buy a share, I sell a share, see how it works, how quickly it goes, and then more importantly, I withdraw my money. So then I sell all my shares, the shares for 10 euros, and withdraw it into my bank account to see if I get my money back. Because you would be surprised. Some brokers, they're very good and getting you excited and shifting, helping you to put your money with them. But if you want to withdraw it, they're going to charge you. It's going to be slow. It's going to take over a week. You have to write to the support. And for me, that's huge red warning signs, right? So that's why I play with small money. And once everything works and I'm happy with it, then I start pumping more money into the system. And yeah, so that's always a good thing. Start small and work your way up from there. Same with, the first time I did a large crypto transfer, when you send Bitcoin, sending money to another bank account with IBAN, even though the IBAN bank account number is usually quite long, people slowly get used to it. But the first time, I don't know if any one of you done that, actually send Bitcoin and some other cryptocurrency to another wallet or withdraw to your own hardware wallet. You have these huge, crazy long numbers and digits, and it's very terrifying, and then you send. And then, some of the crypto are very slow. Let's say Bitcoin usually takes, in my case, 20 minutes to transfer. And you sit there, you're fresh and wait for it to arrive until it finally does. So the same here. I would never send a huge amount the first time. I would always send a small amount until it comes. And once everything works well, then I send a bigger amount. So that's always a good point for sure. What else we have? I don't hold any Bitcoin at all. I regret not buying and investing regularly when the price was down. Do you think it's a good idea to start now? Or to wait? Look, again, nobody can predict you the price. I'm really in the space. I listen to so many different videos. Like every day, I listen to at least one video or one podcast on the topic of Bitcoin alone. Of course, also crypto at large, but really focus on Bitcoin. And you hear crazy numbers. I heard numbers from Bitcoin will reach 10 million in the year 2040. To all the way that Bitcoin will go to zero. So, on that spectrum. So, and these are smart people. They're not just Joe Blows from the street, but smart people, right? So there's no right or wrong. But I think, when you really think about it, and I've done a video about this recently, of all the value it's offering, especially in the digital times we're living in, I just don't see how people would all of a sudden, unless there is a global meltdown happening, which even more would probably propel Bitcoin as a safe haven rather than some physical assets, at least in my case. And I said, young generation, whoever I speak with, they don't hold any gold, they don't want gold. Like I couldn't care less for gold. If you give me gold today, I would right away sell it and turn it into something else, either invest in the stocks, ETF, or ideally Bitcoin. But for me, holding gold at home, where do I save it? What do I do? It's just, it's for me an old school mentality that I don't think is really compatible with the digital world we're living in. So that's why I'm investing myself. I cannot tell you what it's going to be worth, but if you ask me if it's going to be worth more in 5 years than it is today, then I would say absolutely. That's why I'm buying more, and I think that's why dollar cost averaging a way in is a good thing. Of course, we still sometimes. I'm really upset with myself. I bought it at 73k, then it went down to all the way to 63k recently, and then I bought quite a bit, but then it went up to 70. I said, oh my god, I should have bought more. But I don't know, right? It might drop in 3 weeks because some negative headline comes out. It might go down to 50k. And then I would have been out of money because I already bought everything at 63k. That's why I just really religiously buy it either hopefully not every day, even though I'm really tempted to buy every day, but ideally once a week at least. And then just buy a small position over time. I might buy it at 80. Sometimes I might buy it at 50. I might buy it at 120. But if it goes up even further, it's a win-win long term. Right, who else? Yes, sir. I'm German. I guess you can hear by the accent maybe, even though I've been living a majority of my life abroad. Still, I guess you can't get the German out of me. But yeah, it is what it is. Anas from Morocco. Salam alaikum. Nice to have you with us. Thank you very much for dialing in. And deposited 10 euros into IB just to see how it works. And yeah, very cool, man. Really nice. Of course, in IB, the only thing to consider, I love IB. It's an amazing broker. I use it myself as well. But I think it becomes more relevant the bigger your portfolio gets because, for example, I was now looking to buy a new ETF, which I talked about recently, Spider ETF on the S&P 500. On the London Stock Exchange on Interactive Brokers, and don't ask me why, they charge me $3 for commission. So I need to check why that's so high. Maybe I have to rechange my pricing structure. Right now I'm on tiered. I used to be on fixed. I changed it to tiered, which was cheaper for US stocks where I only pay 35 cents. That's fine. But $3 on what did I buy for? I think 500 euros. That's very high. Then I bought the same ETF on Trading 212 without any commission. So that's a huge percentage difference, right? Now, if you buy for 10,000 euros and you only paid $3, I'm fine with that because the percentage is very small. So just keep in mind, if you're starting to build up a bigger position in the beginning, the fees might be a little bit more painful on smaller amounts. But as your portfolio grows, I think Interactive Brokers is really, really a solid option. But in the beginning, just to play around with, also give a try to some of the other brokers where you're not being charged a commission, because if you buy a stock for 10 euros and you pay, I don't know, even 50 cents in commission, that's a hefty chunk of your returns, right? So just keep that in mind. Just bought some more Bitcoin right now. Never an error. Absolutely, I agree. Again, long term, we can only look back and say, oh my God, I should have bought so much more at 70K. But yeah, it will be interesting. That's why I also like making these videos, because for me to look back, a few years from now and say, when I look at those videos, how I thought at the time and how things change over time, and then I say, oh my God, at 70,000, it might be, I don't know, 300,000. I said, Kai, why the heck I didn't invest into that? Why did I invest in Coca-Cola, which I still buy until this day? Dividend stocks. Some people say boring dividend stocks. Why are you buying them? Even though it's also interesting how, the investing vision does change, I must say, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not a guru who knows everything. I document my journey as I go along and hopefully become a smarter investor in the process. And how I started investing is very much different to who I am as an investor right now, and probably going to be quite different how I'm going to be in the next few years. In the beginning, I just bought some stocks. Once again, some tech stocks. Everybody said buy this, buy that. I bought my Palantirs, my Tesla, what have you, without doing any research. Then I understood that's probably not the way. I sold all of them. Then I started investing only into the S&P 500. That was nice. Then it was a bit boring, so then I bought my crypto, which I heard somebody said you should buy it. Okay, let's add that to the equation. Then it was a bit roller coaster ride. I didn't really understand it. Sold some, kept some others. Fine. Then I said, okay, dividends, that's the way to go. And I started investing more and more into dividend growing stocks, which I love until this day. But still, once again, I'll make a video on this in the future. I don't know if I'm going to really do this for the next 50 years, because I now start to really understand the point of total returns. While it's nice to get a dividend, if you make 6% dividend, it's amazing. But if your share price drops by 2%, you're actually worse off than investing into the S&P 500. While it's nice to get that passive income, in the end, if your overall capital drops, it's not worth it, right? It's like buying a house that pays you have your own house, you rent it out, you get the rent, but the house is in a bad location and the value of the house drops every month. So in the end, it's not worth it. So I still love dividends. I'll continue investing into this. But as I said, I'll make a separate video about how my new investment strategy will be going forward. I think it's also important, right? We're living in such volatile and ever-changing times that I don't think you can have one investment style that's going to be unchanged for the next 50 years. Back in the day, even Warren Buffett never liked technology stocks, right? He was always against a lot of them. And then eventually he changed his approach, invested into Apple, and guess what? Till this day, Apple is his biggest investment. Even he was way late to the game. Only a couple of years ago he got into it, and still it's his most successful investment. So I think there's nothing wrong with changing your approach as you go along, as you grow as an investor, and also your life circumstances change, right? Younger investors, you will probably take more risk than if you are about to retire. If you're 70-year-old, you're probably not going to invest 30% of your net worth into some meme stock, or as I just showed you, the Truth Social, or some Pepe meme coin. That wouldn't be probably the right approach for you. So I think it's normal that investment approaches change over time. What else we have here? What's your opinion and experience with the most realistic online side hustle to begin with? I made a video about this recently. I tried a lot, to be honest. While I was full-time employed as a general manager, I still always had the urge to try something online. Did many different things. I did drop shipping. A lot of Shopify stores I had in the past. I made money with them, but eventually not really sustainable profits, let's put it this way. I did print on demand, where I would print motivational canvases that people could hang in their houses. So I did a lot of things, not many of it being very successful, I would say, but still it gave me a lot of skills, right? I learned the skill of even designing things online, right, on Canva, how to become a better designer, how to market things, how to run ads on Instagram, Facebook, how to set up a website. So I got a lot of valuable skills. So while it wasn't the most profitable endeavor, it's still a great learning experience that now helped me to run my YouTube business and other things that are part of my YouTube channel. So Do that, and then you also see what you like, right? Some people really love, doing all these things, and they eventually have one successful store that pops. Great. Or you may realize, well, that's actually not for me. I love, becoming a podcaster. Great, do that. I love doing video. Amazing. Not everybody likes to be on video, right? A lot of people don't like that, sitting in front of a camera. It's quite weird to talk to a camera knowing that hopefully more and more people are watching without getting direct feedback. It's not a natural thing to do. Normally in a conversation you have feedback and so on. The camera just stares at me and I stare at the camera. So it's kind of odd. So you have to kind of get used to it. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable, and that's totally fine, right? While I think it can open amazing opportunities, there's so many other ways out there. So again, there are whole amazing YouTube channels out there that only talk about that. But also one thing I want to caution you, obviously as part of the YouTube algorithm, you want to come up with some crazy titles. I mean, you see now, it used to be how to make 1,000 euros or dollars a week or a month as a side hustle. Now you see like how to, make 50,000 a day doing X, right? Just to get you to click. And funnily enough, when you really do the research, I mean, most of these people talking about these side hustles, they don't actually do them. So to be honest, I also don't like to make too much of these videos, even though they're quite lucrative. I mean, the amount of money you get on ads from those videos are quite high. But honestly, I don't like to talk about things that I don't really do myself, right? Like I could now talk about YouTube because I do it, right? And I can guide people around it. But it's like, talking to invest into stocks that you don't invest in yourself. I'm not a big fan of that. Now, to share some ideas and so on, I will continue to make these kind of videos just to give ideas of inspiration. But yeah, be very mindful, because a lot of people say, open your dropship store today, buy my course, open your dropship store and be the next millionaire. Not sure that always works as advertised. $150 in VOO, is it good for 10 years? Absolutely. Just be mindful. If you're not in the US, probably you can't invest into the US, into VOO directly, or you shouldn't. Always recommend to buy UCITS ETFs. So you can, for example, the VUSA from Vanguard is based on VOO, but for non-Americans, and that way, check depending on where you live. I don't know where you live, but the withholding tax on that will be instead of 30%, for example VOO, on all the dividends you get, you would pay, the broker will withhold 30% on the dividends, versus if you buy the UCITS ETF in Ireland, most of them are registered, you would only pay 15% if your country has a double taxation treaty with the US, which a lot of the countries have. So yeah, I would recommend that rather than the VOO, but I get your point. To invest into the S&P 500 and $150, I mean, definitely, again, invest as much as you're comfortable with, right? There's no right or wrong. If you make in a month 50,000 euros, then no, I think $150 is way too little. You should invest much more. If you make, $1,000, then $150 is a great amount. So it has to work for you. I think there's no, one number that works for everyone. Anas, what's your favorite bank account? I would say VIO or Revolut, but choose one you would recommend the most special for multi-currency. Well, funny you ask. Actually, I have both right now. So VIO in the UAE. I've been really happy with them. I previously used to use Emirates MBD. And yeah, I mean, that was quite a struggle, I would say. So VIO, I've been very happy. I have the business account for my business, which is registered in the UAE, as well as my personal account. So I've been really loving it. It's only digital, really, really cool. Some people say it's annoying, I cannot go to a branch and speak to a person. Well, honestly, I don't want to speak to a person. I'd rather do it digital from anywhere in the world rather than having to queue up. I remember having to queue up for hours in the mall to speak to my bank guy, So I really like what they're doing. They're paying me now 5% interest on my dirhams, and I think US dollar as well. So really, really cool. I love it. The only thing is, fee-wise, I think Revolut is better, because if you send money around, now if I make an international transfer, I think they charge me almost 10 euros or dollars around. So that's quite expensive. But if you mostly operate there, or you need it to receive money, I connected my Wheel account to my Stripe account. So if now anyone pays me from anywhere in the world, it goes to my Stripe, and then Stripe pays into my Wheel account. So that's really cool. It works really well, because Revolut, technically, you cannot use in the UAE. So they're not operating in the UAE. Now you can use it to make transactions, but I think after a while, if I don't have a home address anymore in Europe, where I kind of initially registered with Revolut, I might lose access to it, unless they don't check. But technically, they're not registered in UAE yet. So That's why I use both until I can, because for traveling I really prefer Revolut. It's really nice, the experience is really great. I've just yesterday did a video about the new feature of where you can use your phone to roam. You get free roaming on the Ultra plan, so it really has amazing benefits. But Wio definitely in the US is great. And for example, if you use the Wio credit card, you get 2% cash back on every transaction. So that's really a killer deal there. Any particular reason to move to Dubai? Is it true that one pays no tax, even for capital gains? Just do Swiss do not have tax on capital gains? Yep, absolutely. I mean, obviously, look, I mean, I lived in Dubai, I studied in Dubai, I worked in Dubai before, so in total I lived there 7 years. So in a way I consider it home. So I'm not only going for the tax. Tax is the cherry on top, let's say, right? The tax advantage, but also for the lifestyle, the sunshine, the crazy infrastructure, the like-minded people I met there. I met some amazing YouTubers, some amazing finance people who really playing the game at, I don't know, 100x of where I am and where I want to go. So for me, it's inspirational rather than when you're in a smaller environment where you kind of doing okay and you look down and others are not so okay. So I like to look up and get inspired. So for that, Dubai is amazing. Plus, I really believe the way at the speed they're going, it's the city of the future. It's the New York of what New York was in the 80s. In 10, 15 years, everybody wants to go to Dubai. It's already happening. I think it's going to be more and more. Look at the projects that are coming. It's crazy. Now, for your tax question, yes, that's true. There's no income tax, no capital gain tax, no dividend tax on your personal income, so to say, right? So that's why once I sell my Bitcoin one day, if I ever decide to sell at $1 million and I bought it at 50,000, let's say, I will pay 0 tax on that. That's amazing. The same on the stocks, same on dividends. There's no tax on that. That's really cool. Now, of course, if you have a company based there, they have introduced a new taxation rules, which is still very friendly. I mean, basically, you would only, if you're registered as a free zone, pay only 9% on company profits over $100,000, I believe that is. So in 1 year, anything over $100,000 of profits, that is, you will pay 9%. So I mean, if you made that over 100,000 in profits, you'd be happy to share a bit of that to give back, and I think that's really reasonable. And they've only done that because of international pressures from other countries, because everybody was moving there, so they had to kind of comply a little bit with this, because some people said they start with 9% and soon it's going to be 30. I don't think so. They're smart enough to knowing that if they would do that, then of course people would again also go elsewhere. So they did it to please the regulators from abroad, but long term I don't think they're gonna quadruple the taxation anytime soon, or if at all. Why does each S&P have different prices? Yeah, very good question, because a lot of them are based obviously in different currency as well, but even in the same currency, they are in different quantities, right? Because it's a combination of the price times the shares in circulations, and they're just mimicking. So if they had more initial shares listed, they can have a lower price, versus if another stock exchange had less amounts of shares listed, they can have a higher price. So in the end, the overall returns more or less should be the same. But yeah, so that's why I always say don't only look at the price. Even when you see some stocks in the past, I think Apple used to be, I don't know, $500-600 per share. Then they've done a stock split. So basically, I don't remember what it was, but I think it was 2-for-1 or 3-to-1. So basically, the price got cut in 3, and by instead of 600, it's now 200. But then instead of you having 1 share, you would have 3 shares. So it's just rebalancing it. So the price is just one price of one part of the component. So look at price and the shares in circulation. That will give you the total price, and that's what you should be looking at, not just at the price of a share. You can buy fractional shares, right? So that's really nice. What else? Bilal from Oman, no tax as well. I'm investing in VOO monthly, SIP. That's cool, but double check in your brokerage. You will see if you pay, I think even from Oman, I don't know what is tax treaty, but from the UAE, I was looking into buying VOO from the UAE, investing into the US directly, but then I would be paying 30% withholding tax, or my broker would basically withhold that. Plus there's also the US estate tax. So if many years from now, all of us eventually will pass away, apparently, I don't remember correctly, but they will be able to take, I think, 30 or 40% of your US-based stock holdings and just keep it for the government. I mean, that's crazy. So look up the US estate tax. So once people pass away, they keep a big part. So that wouldn't go to your family anymore. They would keep a big chunk of that. So in that way, if you invest into the UCITS ETF, that wouldn't happen. So something to look into, definitely. Check it out. Dave Gardner, I'm between S&P 500 and global. Popular finance YouTubers all go on about global diversification, but I don't want to buy a load of poor performing stocks. 100% Dave. I mean, same. You know, it's so funny, and that's why I said there's no right or wrong. It has to work for you. But when I do also my research, I've done it in one of my last videos where I compared one of the popular ones is this global FTSE all world ETFs. First of all, a lot of the stocks in there are anyways US based, right? The biggest part of it is US based. So I kind of have the same shares anyways. Plus the second component is, as you said, there's so many shares. I think the FTSE All World has 3,600 shares, if I'm not mistaken, or companies in it. Most of them I have no idea about. I'm just hoping maybe that one of them will pop, but do I really know about it? I want to understand kind of at least generally what I'm investing in, and here invest into Korean companies, Japanese companies. Maybe one of them will pop, but I don't think it's going to become the next Microsoft over time. So that's some. I don't really understand much of it. And lastly, the total expense ratio usually is way higher, right? So that's also something when we look at the return. Let's say the return with the same, let's say 8%, even though it hasn't traditionally. Usually they kind of underperform over long term, the S&P 500, most of them at least. But then you still have the higher expense ratio. I think most of them are 0.3%, if not higher, which is understandable. It's more stocks to manage, it's global, so I understand they're more expensive. But now, for example, I started investing into the State Street, the SPY5, which is the S&P 500 ETF in Europe, but the cheapest one at only 0.03%. So even if they have the same return, I'm still more profitable because I have a lower expense ratio. So for me, honestly, I'm really happy with the S&P. I'm still also young. I want to take a bit more risk. I think if you over diversify, in the end, I don't know. It's just not. It doesn't work with me. I don't think it's something wrong with it. I get the point. I understand people who do want to diversify. And if you want to go for that, that's also great. I think in my eyes at least, the worst you can do is to have the S&P and the global one, because here you have such a huge overlap. You know, the top 10, top 15 holdings are anyways going to be the same stocks in many cases, right? So then you pay a higher fee for potentially one of those lower stocks to pop, and that doesn't make sense for me. In my case, as I said, now I'm investing in the S&P 500, as I have done for a while now, but now I'm actually trying to add a bit more returns to the mix by potentially investing into the NASDAQ 100, which is really tech focused. Again, you have a bit of overlap at the top, but you're missing a lot of the kind of slower growth companies at the bottom that maybe pull it down a little bit. So yeah, that's something I'm looking to add to the mix over there. Andre, what's your take on Tesla? I have a bag waiting for the future, but now is it a good time to buy more? As always, I don't give stock recommendations, but if you ask me, I haven't invested into Tesla directly. Now, having said that, buying the S&P 500, as I've shown you before, if we go over here, just to remind ourselves, where we see the biggest companies, obviously in the US. So naturally, and now Tesla is the 12th biggest company. So indirectly, I am benefiting and invested into Tesla, but directly, honestly, I wouldn't be doing it because, I just think the valuations, when I look at it, for me, is crazy. I cannot get behind it. I know you're kind of investing for the future and it has more than just cars and so on, but I think if a company can go up and down by more than 10% just because of a tweet by the CEO, that's not something I feel comfortable investing in. Do I miss out and maybe miss out on some gains? Potentially. But as I said, I might also be missing out on gains from some crypto projects and many other things. So I can't invest into everything. I'm not driving a Tesla myself. Do I believe in the future of EV? Absolutely. But do I also look at China and see companies like BYD and other strong Chinese manufacturers potentially taking over way more market share from Tesla? Absolutely as well. So these are the reasons why I'm personally not invested into that for sure. Ilya bought 7 small coins waiting for Bitcoin U-turn. So I guess some smaller coins. Again, a lot of people I get it, right? If you maybe have small capital to start with, you want to time the market, get in some smaller projects early, make money, exit it, and then a lot of people invest those profits that they have and invest it into Bitcoin, right? So I think that makes sense to build your Bitcoin holding over time, but it's funded through some smaller projects. Again, not something I'm doing. I'm doing my funding by earning fiat money in a way. But if you want to do that sort of as a side hustle and you see good potential from it, absolutely. I know people doing that. They're happy with it. It's always a question of how long. It's nice to do it now. In difficult times, it's funny. Even you just see how the news are talking about Bitcoin, right? Now that the price is up, there's more talks about Bitcoin. Where was the talks about Bitcoin, crypto, and NFTs? Let's not forget about NFTs. The last 2 years, there was hardly anything in the major headlines. So it's funny how it correlates with the price of Bitcoin. Yeah, good guys. I don't know if there's any other question. Again, it's been on the hour now, so really appreciate you guys dialing in on Friday afternoon. Let's do next week. If there's no special holiday coming up, I'll probably do it on Saturday just to try it. For the timing, it's always hard to find because, as I said, my biggest viewership is from the US, so I have to do it in Europe towards the evening. But then I think, will a European in the evening, Saturday evening, dial in to watch my live stream versus hanging out with the family and watching Netflix? Well, if they do, that really means a lot actually. So I'll try. Let's see how it goes, and then we will take it from there. But yeah. Yeah, how I get the information? Well, I have certain newsletters I subscribe. I have quite a good memory, so I'll try to memorize articles that I read before. But yeah, I'm learning as I go along. There's still so many things. The more you learn, the more you understand how little you know. As I said, NASDAQ 100. I mean, I've been investing for quite a while, but NASDAQ 100 was never really big on my radar, and only now I'm getting into it. So we grow as we go along, but that also comes back to the point of taking action, getting started, and in the process become a better, a stronger person, an investor, and that's the goal I have with this channel here. So guys, let's leave it at that. Once again, really appreciate you dialing in, taking the time. Thanks for your comments. Really means the world. We'll do this a weekly affair for sure. I really enjoy these live streams, even though not so many people are watching. But hopefully, with time and consistency, we'll grow that even further. Once again, thanks very much, and wish you all, for those of you who celebrate, a happy Easter celebration, long weekend ahead. Spend some time with your friends, family, make the most of it, and I will see you very soon. With this, thanks very much, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.